Hello and welcome back everyone to the OPL. It's been a crazy night after that last game here. My name is Pastry Time. Joining with me is Papa Smithy, and we're still recovering from Fortnite versus Chiefs.
Just regulating my breathing. It was a massive day of League of Legends so far, but patch 5.5 has brought on the bizarre. I don't think I would never expect to be saying this sentence, but outplayed was the Chiefs against Fortnite. They just really smashed them, especially in the late game. And now the Chiefs have to regroup and for the first time in the season, come back on a day with a second game after a loss.
Before we forget though, of course, MVP has to go to Naya there on that Sejuani. We talk about it on 5.5. It's coming up as a big pick. One of his comfort picks, like he said, he was playing it before it was cool, and he made it look real cool that game.
Taken away from him in the first game when they beat the enemy team, did Fortnite, but now getting it, showed his prowess in the champion. Those glacial prisons towards the late game made the fights. That's the massive thing to take away. And Sejuani finally justifying her spot as a first pick on patch 5.5.
And it makes sense. If any player in the OPL is going to show it off, of course, is going to be Naya. But like you said, Chiefs have another game to play here. And this has big implications for both of the teams we've just seen. Chiefs, of course, can no longer go undefeated. That's probably the most crushing thing for them. But they can, of course, keep their record alive, ensure their #1 spot moving into playoffs. And Avant, they have to win out here, because if Fortnite keep winning, Avant are in danger of potentially having to play relegation.
Or you can just frame it around the top 4 spots, Pastry Time. After their loss to Immunity earlier, Avant need a win in order to be equal again. 6-6 would be their overall record. The head-to-head between Immunity and Avant is 1-1. Avant have the easier run-in, theoretically, next week, but they need to pick up a win here just to really give themselves the best shot to be able to take it next week.
Yeah, you know, I guess Avant can come in at least being like, you know what? One team's already beaten the Chiefs. I think we maybe at least have a shot now.
I mean, if you're ever going to be confident, right now when they off a massive defeat, the drop in morale, we don't know how these players deal with tilt because they've had nothing to tilt about. They've been winning all season.
No, but they're going to have to keep everything solid. And if we want to talk about anchors for these two teams, we have to look towards the top side of the map as well. Porky versus Swiper, two of the best top laners in the region. You have to think Porky coming back after a couple weeks off there with Backgammon subbing in for him, and they both looked fantastic.
Yeah, adding so much structure to the team. Of course, today, unfortunately, without Kensty in the lineup, had to move around. But in the previous games, in the top lane position, you can actually see that Porky's kill participation actually higher than Swiper's, which is a massive thing. I think a lot of that is just from the fact that Avant have been grouping more, and it's been involved in a high amount of kills, but still, it shows how integral he's been to their team. Just added a lot more structure. Having a tanky top lane has empowered Chelby when he's played to really be aggressive and really trade upon his natural tendencies as a jungler. We're going to have another lineup rejigger here, so Chelby does come back into the line. Jakey's actually going to be subbing in the mid lane. Still no Kensty. Avant, they're looking for a victory, but it's going to be hard because the Chiefs, they definitely want to kind of come back strong.
Yeah, I mean, they always want to bounce back confidently, Kieran. We'll have a chance to do so. Avant in their defense looked actually very competitive against Immunity in that long game that they had earlier this evening. So certainly have a chance here despite a couple of substitutions, but it almost might be more on the Chiefs. They have to pick themselves back up and say, you know what? We lost the game. We got outscaled. Let's not let it happen again.
I mean, they played to their early win conditions, but the game just fell away from them in the mid game. They weren't able to take the game by the horns despite having all outer turrets. It was just surreal to see them be picked apart, but just outplayed at the last by Fortnite. Will they go for the same mid game here? That's kind of been their calling card, the mid game pick comp. Maybe we'll see something different.
But we'll have to find out as we do begin the draft now between Avant and Chiefs. Avant on the blue side, Chiefs over on the red. LeBlanc already banned there for Avant-Garde, so lots of mid lane bans you have to expect, especially towards Swiffer. Kensty, if he was here, would be drawing similar bans. Nidalee, though, the smart ban there for Chiefs, probably away from Chelby.
Well, that's the interesting thing. Like, Chelby's played it from the jungle. No Kensty, and then it will be a double duty ban, but definitely being focused towards the jungle. Don't know much about Jakey's champion pool. Could, of course, be a flex pick that we don't know about. But Nidalee's a standard ban, and Cassidy, we saw him earlier, still pretty strong, worth banning.
Yeah, do you want to take that go away? It's funny that with Kensty not here, we're still having Kensty champions banned away from the mid lane. So the
Shout out to Kensty with those bans.
Certainly lives on. But Callista, the last ban there for Avant-Garde. Radius certainly coming to his own as a Callista player, although obviously played Graves in that last engagement as well. Chiefs now 8 seconds left to ban their last champion. I wonder what they want to go for.
I mean, it could just be a super tank like Sion. That's Porky, of course, a wonderful tank player. High kill participation usually is indicative of just tanky champs, and it's going to be a tank, but it's going to be a jungle tank. It's going to be the Sejuani.
Yeah, after that last game, fearing the Piggy a little bit there, so we'll ban it away from Chelby's jungle pool, but that leaves Morgana, a very open pick there for Avant-Garde's first.
It's very contested as the Morgana pick. We haven't seen a lot of Lulu today. That's been the interesting thing to me, Base Time. On 5.5, Lulu's still so strong, still so flexible, hasn't been locked away, and look who pops up for the Chiefs. Swiper's most comfortable champion is locked in. It's going to be the Sion.
You know what? He played Maokai in the last series. Love that, of course, is another tank, but Sion just got much more engaged potential. And they've done this before already. Janna, Sion are the Chiefs' first two picks.
There's a lot of synergy between those two champs in terms of move speed, but the other thing to consider here, Patient Time, it's a Janna, and of course, Rosie only plays those disengaged supports when he really has to. So that says to me, probably going to see a lot of damage coming out from the AD carry this time around.
Yeah, we could have Radius Jinx maybe have a visit here. Cogmore, of course, he's played as well recently, so lots of options there. Last time they played this sort of compo was with Sivir, I believe, in their opening game against Legacy, if you guys can remember, all the way back to the start of the OPL. But Avant-Garde have a couple picks to make as well.
Absolutely. And you don't pigeonhole yourself with Janna. You can take it in any comp. They've got a very strong front line and a disengaged support. Not giving away anything. As Avant are really thinking about this, maybe trying to dissect what it was about Fortnite's comp that was so successful against the Chiefs and try and emulate some of their success.
Yeah, we've got not that much time left, unfortunately, for Avant-Garde. We actually do have Lasava open as well, but Avant-Garde might switch gears quite rapidly here. Chelby going to take an aggressive jungler. That is not a surprise, but Mizui on Cogmore is a big change.
Okay, it's small potential that could be an AP cog. Probably not going to be, especially given the meta and how often we've seen the AD carry. Even we've seen the Chiefs playing Protect the Cogmore rather than the true Juggermore comp. Of course, Lulu's still available, so many things are optional. We saw Maz playing Varus last week, already been playing those immovable AD carries. Cogmore, just as immovable, less CC, but man, the late game damage, so important against the hyper tanks like Sion.
Yeah, pretty insane stuff, and I wonder if the Chiefs almost like, do we have to take Lulu? Like, they really don't want to give that comp over to Avant-Garde if they
They've already got Morgana, so there's certainly a certain amount of protection already available. I mean, you could still go Jinx, Jinx Lulu, and let's try and battle hyper carry for hyper carry, but Jinx is already the Janna's already locked in. Lulu mid doesn't necessarily fit Swiffer's champion pool necessarily. There's a lot of questions here, and Chiefs, just like Avant, taking their time.
Yeah, I mean, kind of talking pretty frantically. You have to think with 5 seconds left here. No obvious assassin to take you. Never mind, Swiffer finds one. Corki there for Radio and Zed in the mid lane.
Okay, so they're not going for the hyper carry. They're going to go for the mid game once again. The Swiffer split push on the Zed will be a considerable thing to consider. Definitely his strongest of the AD assassins. Doesn't play a lot of Yasuo, but did always love the Zed. We have to see the big tank coming through from Porky. They need someone to deal with the split push coming through from the Zed, because so far, 4 members, no answer.
No, I mean, if they can get some sort of lead and out-rotate them, they'll force the Zed to group, but that's unlikely given Swiffer's pedigree on a champion like Zed. So, again, going to consider their options. Looks like Morgana's going to be entering a lane here, given that they're hovering another support pick, but Avant-Garde showing lots of flexibility already, and they might go all in on the Juggermore.
Absolutely. So they're definitely looking for team fights. They definitely look to extend this game to the late game. It worked for Fortnite, you have to say, but Corki definitely is safer of the mid-game carries. A lot of turret pushing, but again, that was already something that the Chiefs was successful at engaging upon in the previous series. And you're right, there definitely isn't an obvious split push choice against Swiffer now. Lulu is fine in that role, of course, has the wild growth, has a lot of disengage, can just build a Zhonya's to be safe. But the Chiefs, with this last pick, I guess they're looking for a jungler.
I mean, if they need something here, maybe. I mean, Fight doesn't really help you against this. I mean, this is the issue. When Lulu Cogmore's together, especially with all this extra support as well, it just gets to a point where he's immovable. That's the juggernaut point of Juggernaut.
Absolutely. And you can see, I mean, Chiefs, their picking phases are always so decisive. They always know what they want to play. They're not really interested in what the enemy team's playing. They're picking for themselves, and they're a bit thrown off. You can tell that from the long hovers. Probably just going to be a standard jungler, but well, I say standard and they go straight for Zac.
Well, Zac's locked in now as well, so throw standard out the window. Spooks goes back to a classic Spooks jungler here. He's a bit of an oldie but a goodie. Zac's here.
I like the idea of Zac against this comp. We haven't seen Zac against Cogmore. Of course, it's unexplored territory, because only with the Cinderhulk introduction does Zac really come back in the jungle. Of course, can stack health so happily and just get that massive model size. The reason why it interests me in this matchup is that if you do hit the E in particular, get into the middle of the fight, get on top of the Cogmore, there's a lot of consistent CC coming through from a Zac especially. Doesn't have a lot of damage, but if the if the Black Shield isn't used specifically for Kog'Maw, if it's down, you can CC up, and this is a different way of potentially dealing with the Juggernaut comp.
Yeah, I mean, just throw a lot of very big tanks and CC in there. Probably important to note that this is a Zac pick with Rek'Sai available to be taken by Spook. Doesn't want it.
I mean, Rek'Sai has a lot of trouble getting anywhere near Kog'Maw, so it's not the best pick. The Elastic Slingshot has such a long range coming through from the jungle. If they can get ward advantage, they have so many different pick opportunities. And look, let's say the Black Shield doesn't get broken. It's just Zac bouncing around. That's a lot of disruption for Zed to sneak in an assassination. There's a lot of potential teamfight plays coming through, and there's still no clear answer from Avant in particular. Who's going to deal with the Zed split push?
And let's not joke here. With Juggernaut for reason, I called it all in. There's effectively 3 supports here with some disengaged tools for Lee Sin. If Kog'Maw ever dies in any sort of teamfight situation or gets picked off, Avant's comp does basically nothing after that.
And let's see if they can actually put together. They've definitely selected a Juggernaut comp. Can they play it? Will we see Kog'Maw positioned towards the front, taking the brunt of engages with all the supportive ultimates coming out? That's the core tenet of a Juggernaut comp. Protect the Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw's at the back behind the tanks. And the Juggernaut comp, he's up the front, taking the CC so that you can just layer the Wild Growth, the shield coming through from Lulu, the Morgana Black Shield, all the Nami disengage coming through. It's all for the Kog'Maw. If he's ever positioned at the back, they're doing it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely wrong. You want all the party in the front there. Just, make it happen. But, they have to get to that point as well.
And the timings are so split second. You're also relying on Maz, who's definitely had an up and down season, but has looked good on immovable carries before. It's a lot on Maz's shoulder. It's all about Maz.
Yeah, and he's maybe been one of the more less consistent players, I guess. I mean, he's been fine. Definitely up and coming on Avant for sure. Sort of had, I think, a rough induction into his pro team here.
And he had queries about his champion pool. He's known as a Corki player. Ezreal to some degree showed us the Varus though last week for something a bit different. The Kog'Maw, again, it's another immobile AD carry, but it's kind of like when Avant were happy to build their comps around bad game Lulz Jax. It's still a lot of faith in someone who's previously just had to be a role player. Suddenly is saying, all right, this is all about you. And we'll learn a lot about Maz as a player and Avant as a team if they can successfully run this Juggernaut comp.
And hopefully today we'll learn something about Zac, because Spooks, that's his jungle here. I'm very excited to see what Zac does. And we saw this a little bit with Rek'Sai, Sivir, Sion in that comp. And obviously no Sivir here can't do the same thing. But Zac is a very good follow-up to a Sion ulti.
He's got a lot of little buffs, and the buffs have added up. It's not just the Cinderhawk item, which I think kind of catapults him forward. That's just another terrible line.
Slingshots him forward.
Slingshots
him
forward. Elastically slingshots him forward. That's a phrase. It's not just that, because of course the elastic slingshot itself now has a 1 second knockback over a 0.5 seconds. So it's actually, but on its own, a very good interruption or engage tool. And then of course we all know about the Let's Bounce and the amount of CC that's able to be put out. Still doesn't do a lot of damage. That's the big thing about Zac. He's purely here to try and deal with the Kog'Maw, but with the Black Shield especially, it's going to have trouble breaking that. It's going to have to be very particular usage of spells trying to negate that ability. The only magic damage on the team is Zac and to some degree Corki, so can they ever break an AP top Morgana's Black Shield? I don't know if they can.
I mean, I don't know either, and you said the keyword already for these comps. It's damage on the Chiefs side. No hypercarry here, no Jinx. They've got a massive frontline here, but they're setting up Corki, which is fine, but maybe not in line with what they want to be doing. They can certainly get into the backline, but again, can they even kill the Kog'Maw? And Swiffer, he does most of the damage here for this team. He has to do a lot of work, either split pushing or somehow assassinating the Juggernaut.
I don't think it's going to work against Nami, Lulu, and Morgana. There's just so many different tools, boosts of health, shields, heals. There's everything for this Kog'Maw. And you're hoping for Teamfight Zed to be the solution. Maybe they can engineer a game where, again, a lot of outer turrets down, the split push pressure, and no one to split push against them. Never opt into late game team fights, but that was pretty much the story of last game, and it didn't work for the Chiefs. So they're going to have to reach for it again, and I'm not sure about this team that's come through. Maybe the Zac will throw us off, though. Maybe we're not respecting the potential for engage, because Zac can do a lot of things you don't expect with the range on that E.
Oh, really can. I mean, has very creative gang spots. But take it back a little bit here as we're about to jump onto the Rift. The Chiefs still have a lot of room in the early to mid game to try and, get ahead. And that's what they have to do here. So Chiefs, their first loss ever in the OPL picked up in the last game. Avant must feel confident moving in here as well. Avant need to start winning. Chiefs want to keep winning here in a big game for both these teams.
And look, we just saw a game where they got ahead in the mid game and then didn't didn't push their advantage, didn't break the base, and ended up in a 4-0 victory. It's even more stark the importance of breaking the base early. If you don't break the base against a Kog'Maw, a Juggernaut comp in particular, 30 minutes into the game, you lose.
You absolutely lose here, and Avant gonna have to try and weather the landing phase. Got very safe mid and top laners. Kog'Maw relatively safe, although has to be careful if he starts getting picked on and falls behind. The Chiefs are gonna have kind of extend that time naturally just by keeping him down, but. We looked at it before. Legacy have been Chiefs rivals for a while. Last year, they beat them at multiple different LAN events to sort of stop their tournaments, and a lot of that was outscaling the Chiefs in the late game and just playing a bit better. Chiefs, they've kind of picked a weird mid/late game comp. They've almost split.
They were just in such a weird spot where in the last pick they needed a jungler of all things. Like that was the thing that they left open to the last pick. Feels like they could have just gone for a jungler early and then had a last pick mid or top. They didn't use their last pick mid lane as the red side pick really, but. The Zac could be the crown jewel of this comp. I just can't see them having enough damage to break the Black Shield in particular. And there's other questions, like, for example, the laning phase. Corki Jan is not a particularly strong lane. Kog'Maw Nami is probably the strongest of the Kog'Maw lanes, and you have the sustain advantage. You have the poke advantage once you get level 3, maybe level 5, certainly at level 6, have a massive outrange advantage. I don't particularly like Corki in this matchup because he can't really Phosphorus Bomb auto trade and really get a massive advantage. Maybe at level 1, maybe at level 3, but once the sustain starts to come up from the Tidecaller's Blessing, the ebb and flow, sustain coming through from Nami, it's not an ideal matchup for the Chiefs.
No, it's not. And Swiper, just casually going to kill himself here on the Wolves. We'll take away a camper, doing it quite slowly, actually, but we'll get it down eventually. Slowly.
Will he die?
Might not even die. He's actually doing this very slowly, so looks like he'll live. I wonder if he'll do more jungling. Now I'm really excited.
Suddenly fantasy league players everywhere. Like, maybe I can have Sion again.
We'll move him back into the roster. Spooks level 2 ganking onto Junie. Going to mix it up very quickly.
And we said this matchup's not the best for Avant, but you don't factor in the summoner spells. So not the best for the Chiefs. You don't factor in the summoner spells being blown at level 1. Suddenly Junie's positioning is oh so much more important, as that's a very early gank. Credit to Spooks for that early rotation, and now he's going to go contest the red buff.
He's, going to do an invade here, which is kind of interesting. He does have his smite ready to go. I wonder what he wants. He's going to ward the red buff and go back for another gank at level 2.
So he's going to have positioning on Lee. He knows that Lee Sin's not going to be reacting. Wow.
Has a ward there as well. Going to line someone up. It's Matt this time. A great flash though for Kog'Maw. Going to keep him safe, but no flashes left.
The 2 summoners blown. That's a lot of work being done by Zac. Successful ganks, you have to say, in both regards. They're going to have a timer on Lee Sing's red. If they can continue this advantage in the bottom, they keep pushing them in, they might be in position to contest the red at 8 minutes into the game. You
can see Rosie and Raider getting aggressive now on the bottom side of the map. Good poke there onto Junie, but like you mentioned, that W, especially as it gets levels into it, it's going to heal for quite a lot here down the bottom side. So Missouri going to play safe here on the Kog'Maw. Has to, but, you know, Chiefs are fine.
But maybe this will start to improve the laning phase for the Corki Jana that we've kind of forecast as being a fairly dodgy laning phase for Corki particularly. I mean, Maz has to really overextend to get last hits. Actually has to use the Ooze to get the last hits, and which will just continue to push the wave. Radia, a very practiced AD carry player, a very practiced Corki player, definitely is most played of the AD carry role. Suddenly, if they can control this wave, it's going to be harder for Kog'Maw to reach his timings. And of course, he's the crown jewel of the comp. He's the one who's most important when it comes to item timings.
Yeah, he needs to get going here. He's in the top side of the map. Swiper clearing some stuff out. Didn't fall too far behind, it seemed, after getting the Wolves. So teleported in towards the top side of the map and is starting to clear. Should be pretty much just a farm fest there in the top lane. And we'll check in on mid very quickly. Swiffer does have a slight edge early on.
I mean, doesn't really have kill pressure unless he pings level 6 before Lulu does. Lulu's gone for the barrier, I mean, the most defensive option of all, not even the heal, looking for a bit of a team member focused ability, just going purely for lasting the laning phase. So even if he hits level 6 first, might not have enough burst to take down the Lulu. Lulu's just trying to navigate laning phase, just like Avant, just trying to navigate the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, barrier to me always says one thing. I really don't like your ignite here, and that's what Swiffer has. So a lot of the aggression, like you mentioned, going to get cut off here. Swiper still farming it up in the top side. Porky actually quite low there to the early harass, and Swiper again harassing very nicely with his E.
Might have to force out a teleport here, Porky, because every time he eats a raw, it's doing about 20% of his health, and it's on a very short cooldown. Suddenly he has to worry about a turret dive. Porky's being forced out of the lane by this Sion.
Yeah, I mean, can't black shield all the AD damage, so good moves there from Swiper in the early stages. Will get a bit of pressure down onto the turret, but Miniwave going to come back in or keep clearing it out, and he'll just be fine.
Be fine, but again, doesn't have much lane control on the top. You normally pick Morgana to go even in every laning phase, and so far at least, Sion doing very well in the top lane.
Yeah, Morgana will port back in though, so Swiper maybe going to back off, have a shopping trip here. Porky will clear it as best he can with a Tormented Soul. Actually gets a good amount of minions done for himself, so able to clear out most of that advantage. Looking down as well, Trailblazers, sorry, done for both junglers, but Spooks, after all that pressure, 10 CS behind already in the jungle.
10 CS behind, but I mean, in terms of items, it's basically the same. Obviously has the boots versus 600 gold in the bank. Zach's going to do just fine. He's going to clear his jungle. In terms of levels, he's about half a level behind, but I'm sure he'll be fine. Yeah,
should be there as well. So we pop back down to the bottom side of the map. No major items yet here, but Flash is still on cooldown here for Maz and Johnny. Do have their defensive summoner spells though, but Radio again going to play as aggressively as he feels comfortable with here, and they need to take over the lane. The bottom lane is the big focus here for the Chiefs.
Speaking of focus, we do see Lee Sin around the mid now. Morgana joining in the mid lane as well. Swiffer doesn't want to use this shadow aggressively.
No, it does have his flash as well, but we'll kind of smell that gank and actually train towards the correct side. Spook's even going to check it, pops a pink ward down and realizes that seems like people may have just left the area. So Zed, very safe for now. And Spooks, after 2 different level 2 ganks, is really quieting down a bit.
Look, it's good intuition, but it's kind of a situation that you know your top lane has gone missing, no vision on him. The jungler's always missing, but there's no real advantage to planting himself on that side of the wave. There's just no reason to. You're opening yourself up to a gank, you know, at worst. So why not just back away, move to the bottom side? You already know where those members are. They're accounted for. Move away for what's not accounted for. That's usually the way you play around wards, and that's the way they play around that game.
Yeah, Swiffer playing pretty aggressive with those. Shelby finally shows himself there in the mid. Actually moves in, not going to steal anything away. I think did get a couple of the Raptors, maybe just one there, so takes a little bit away, but Shelby, looking a little low, will come in safely towards the mid lane, and Spooks now knowing that someone's backed up from mid, going to start the Dragon.
And in the bottom lane, it's worth knowing though, Maz has not ceded a lot of CS. He's actually stayed very competitive despite both summoners being down in terms of flashes from all the members. It looks like they'll lose the first Dragon at this point, 4 members rotating towards it. Chiefs should secure this objective. But at least Cogmore can be happy that the laning phase could have gone a lot worse with 2 flashes down.
Yes, Swiffer actually going to clear a pink ward away as well, but the first Dragon will be secured there by the Chiefs, and they need to as well. We talked about it already. They need to get the early and mid-game rolling, so that first Dragon's a very nice start.
Absolutely. If breaking the base is your goal, you need to start getting those outer turrets and the Dragons and monopolize them as early as possible. 8 minutes, it's not the 5-6 minute Dragon that we saw last game. Still quite a good time.
Yeah, Rosie actually going to take a bit of harass here, but does cancel a potential back there from the Nami with a Tornado. And again, Radio pretty aggressively freezing Mizui, using his spells effectively here to try and collect CS. But Spooks is back down, not quite level 6, but he's going to line up a slingshot in. Mizui has to be careful, finally forced to flash again there. The bubble actually comes in, will defend them, but Juni takes a lot of poke back.
Feels like the timing of summoner spells was off from the Chiefs there. Maybe it was absent, I don't know, but in this situation, just showing up exactly at the right time when flash comes up, you need to gank before the 5 minutes is up. But still, it does continue the pressure advantage for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, good. It's good of Avant to not actually get killed there in the bottom side of the map, given that they had very few wards in the area, but Spooks has to go back, keep farming, get towards the level 6 and maybe try again.
Absolutely, but in the mid lane doing just fine. Down 11 CS, just ceding lane a little bit to Zed, but just clearing waves is the Lulu. That's basically her job this game. And clear as many waves as possible.
And unfortunately, we do have some mats that's come through as well. Fauna unfortunately cannot make it back into the OPL. They can't get 5th. 6th is actually their best possible result. But don't forget, even though they have to play in relegation, that's actually important, because if you finish anything above 8, you get to at least not play the best challenger team coming up.
Caster Mats puts a little bit of a dampener on the night. But the thing to take away for Fauna is, remember, they're the team that have been playing against OPL teams, scrimming against OPL teams. When it comes to who they face in the promotion relegation, at this point, after those results, who would want to face them? And you know, who's to say they can't beat one of the top 3 challenger teams? At least they're putting themselves in the best practice stead to be able to really stay in the OPL next season.
I mean, they just beat the best OPL team, so I'm sure they'll have a pretty good chance against the OCS team. You're right. I mean, it's been good practice so far. A bit of a shame for them that they came in a bit late to the season as far as showing up goes, but they come back for a split. They'll look deadly, and returning to this game here, Avant still casually biding their time. And I guess they'll get a bit of a time for some tandards here, because this game is going exactly how Avant wanted.
Yeah, Fortnite would, I mean, at the end of the day, they were predicted to be top 4, top 5 after their OCS form. So we see a bit of a trade down bottom lane. It's taken them a long time to try to justify the plaudits that analysts had for them pre-season. But look, if they can stay in the OPL, you know, we've seen top teams in NA, of course, CLG, Dignitas, all fall into relegations before. If they can keep their spot, there's no reason to say that the second split of the OPL this year can't be more fortuitous for 4-0.
Yeah, Swiffer though with his blue buff now in the mid side. Actually clearing very nicely. Actually going to go aggressive here onto Jakey. Might even use his ulti, but knows the barrier and the ulti's there. Jakey going to use the first on Swiffer. Going to come back in. The barrier going in, but first blood goes 1v1 to Swiffer Z.
Seems just like a misplay from Jakey. It feels like he could have used the Whimsy defensively. He could have used the ult much earlier to try to dissuade the all-in. I mean, it's a substitute mid laner. Unfortunately, just played that engage from Swiffer poorly.
Yeah, a bit awkwardly there. Swiffer gets another one, but won't kill Shelby. Flash kick, Spooks back, but he pops his ulti. He's got his passive there as well. And Swiffer is hungry for another kill and gets it.
Ends up just baiting another kill. That was Shelby. I love the aggression coming through, but the return from Swiffer is another kill. Zach lives. The pressure in bottom lane is getting better for Avant, but the mid lane starting to look like a problem for Avant.
Yeah, it's been a while, but that revival passive on Zach, very good for those sort of aggressive dive situations. So quite a few summoner spells, man. But Spooks even going to collect a bit of free lane farm now as Swiffer goes back to shop.
Just power farming, now matching the experience from Chubb. He was about a level behind at the worst, but very quick when you pick up a couple of assists or some kill involvements. And we'll have the Cinderhulk when he backs.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned the focus for the mid lane here as well. That's twice now that Spooks has moved into pink ward, one of Swiffer's mid lane brushes. So putting a lot of resources here into honestly their best damage threat come late game at this point. Although Corky's no slouch, kind of coming behind as a secondary carry here. Swiffer onto it, on for an early blade of the Ruin King here. Cinderhulk almost done for Spooks. That mid synergy that we've always talked about with the Chiefs, looking good again.
Swiffer and Spooks absolutely are the dynamic duo. Red buff now after killing Shelby for Swiffer. Makes life even harder for Jakey. He has his ultimate up. Swiffer doesn't have his yet, but you feel like if the Blade of the Ruin King is incoming, and look, he doesn't have the gold for it yet, about 700 gold away from that item. The kill pressure once barrier is down is very real on Lulu.
Yeah, Brutalizer done now as well. So on the way for some early aggressive AD items, there is the Zed Swiper actually already done with a Spirit Visage at 12.5 minutes. So going to be immovable, you have to think, there on the top side against, honestly, just most of the magic damage coming from Avant.
It's still a game of timings we have to remember. There still is a point where Juggermore, at least from the tape we've watched and from what we've seen in other regions, it's just unstoppable force in the late game. We're still talking about needing to break the base, needing to monopolize dragons. The next dragon comes up in a minute. Maybe that will be another win condition that Chiefs are able to act upon in the mid game. But at this point, you take the start from Avant.
Yeah, I mean, I think Radio kind of slowed things down a bit. Missouri keeping competitive, like you mentioned. Yes, although Radio is at least keeping a 10-plus lead at this stage, but he does want his Trinity Force to move in, although Spooks has wandered back down there.
I mean, so all Spooks' pressure has really started to open this CS advantage in the bot. He's blown 3 flashes with his engages. Now, after the mid-fight, suddenly Lulu looks like she's not going to be able to respond as fast to any engages. The wards are going down with the aggressive invades from Spooks. This is all off the back of Spooks. He had the last pick, Zach. He had to justify the last pick on the red side, and at least so far, he's done that.
He has here as Chiefs actually going to continue pushing in. I don't know if they've quite realized yet that the Avant duo has recalled back, but that is going to set them up for a pretty easy second dragon. You have to think 7 seconds away, and no one from Avant really interested in looking at it.
There's no item timings really to opt into a fight. I mean, Phage Sheen is a good point for Cobble, but it's not the Trinity Force, which would have been expected at this point. The difference between the two champions is probably the Trinity Force, given that 1,500 gold on Corky, and he already has the items towards finishing it. The other big item in the top lane, no Zonia's completed for Corky. Actually was low mana and not level 11 as well. Both of those crucial. The Merlinomicon is nice on Lulu, but definitely not enough to deal with all the damage coming out of Swiffer. Definitely need to start walking towards the Zonias, just to, again, start getting those stasises ready for the Death Mark.
Yeah, and second dragon, we talk about it a lot. Not the worst one to give away. Avant might look to contest the third depending on their items, but the Chiefs going to continue getting stronger. It's not much in this game so far. A slight gold lead of about 1,000 up for the Chiefs, but maybe more importantly at this stage, 2 dragons up as well.
2 dragons is definitely something. The 5th dragon might be something to deal with what the Juggermore puts together. That, again, there's so many unknowns about Juggermore because the few fleeting times we've seen it really played at the highest level, it's been devastating.
Yeah, and then nobody else wants to ever play against it again.
So that's why Lulu sees so much bans, but I mean, it snuck through both picks and bans today. This is the first Lulu that we've seen all day. It can be very potent, and it's something that just wants to clear waves. So for a sub mid laner, it's hopefully one of the easier options to just try and ease your way into competitive play and just clear those waves.
Although Swiffer getting aggressive actually does find a ward, realizes with Shelby backing away. or people moving in towards him that actually no, they have a ward there, so wanted to invade the red. Shelby will be able to get it though, but good intuition there by Swiffer, knowing that the obvious ward spot is there for him to sweep away. But Shelby still fine on the Lee Sin, getting tanky now with his giant spot coming through as well. But again, everyone's just sort of farming up. Radiant though, maybe with the first major item completed, Trinity Force is now done for Corki.
The answering Trinity Force, I believe, is a couple of gold away. Kog'Maw's staying in base, so you know that's the pickup he's looking for. Engaged comes through from Swiffer.
Yeah, but Shelby's here as well, going to kick him out as well. But actually a Shadow might keep him safe. Flashes out again, but Shelby going to chase in and will get the kill for himself.
Excellent timing from Shelby to be in the mid lane. Actually out-rotates Spooks. He's looking to dive in. Does he have the burst?
He pops his ulti there, so he's going to at least give it a go here. Jakey quite low on the Lulu's, already used his summoners, and Spook's going to get low. Shelby nails him with a Q, but shows restraint this time, does not go back in.
I think the passive was not available from Spooks. No, it might have just become available. It's probably smart not to go in. He actually used the W in aggressively to try and get enraged with the kick. Didn't use it in the end. It's Radiant going very aggressive in bot.
Now aggressive onto Maz with the support, leaving the lane, get a flash in for the kill and cleans it out basically 1v1.
Trinity Force burst from Corki. We always talk about the last auto attack doing so much damage. There's 2 members strong now. Of course, Nami are going for a roam. Maz is positioning too aggressive, dies with both his summoners up as well. That's awkward for the Kog'Maw.
And you know what, before his Shelby does take out the mid turret. I was worried that he was changing as a person, maybe got less aggressive, but he was out of range of the Q, so would have followed if he could.
Yeah, with the safeguard, still couldn't get in range. The minion just close enough to deny that kick coming through from Spooks. And yeah, I mean, Chiefs, they're starting to pile on the mid-game advantages, but they need to. Those are their win conditions, breaking the base early. Still a long way from that, but they'll take the start.
And the timing's so good right now for first major items for the Chiefs. Ready with the Trinity Force, takes out a turret, rotate him into the mid to take a turret out. Swiffer actually going to do it on his own, move him out towards to start rotating out and split pushing a lane. Pretty much the whole point of Chiefs comp comes to an apex right now.
Absolutely, and Swiffer is level 12, has the Blade of the Ruined King. Suddenly everyone's working towards this third outer turret. Pokey does have Zhonya's. Not the easiest man to dive, but Swiper, he's already ignoring turrets with his health.
Swiffer wants to go in as well, but will follow Rosie around to the Rift Scuttler there. They might want to take that one out, but actually rethink the dive for whatever reason. Maybe want to get a bit more aggressive vision, maybe Noah buffs coming up soon, but Chiefs are at least staying tightly grouped in Avant's blue side jungle.
And they're forcing Kog'Maw to react. That's the important point, is that Kog'Maw's had to abandon this bottom lane, now walks towards Mazui, caught between 2 options as Chiefs apply so much pressure. They want to get an inner turret and force this Kog'Maw to rotate.
And right now, especially if he takes empty lane farm, Swiffer can just go and kill him with the Blade of the Ruined King. So if they can split him away from the team, like you mentioned, Swiffer, who's already walking down there, can get a very easy solo kill.
He's not going to be spotted by this ward necessarily. He doesn't have to go over the red bush. No, he doesn't. He has not been spotted by vision. Kog'Maw, you're going to die.
Yeah, Chiefs setting up for the full man in top as well, so couldn't have timed this any better. Swiffer Shadows in there, looking for Mazui. A 3-level difference between the two, and Mazui knows he's dead, is forced to flash. Actually gets slowed, I think, there as well, after flashing into the death mark. An easy cleanup.
Absolutely. Didn't even use the Blade of the Ruined King. Tanks a lot of minions, but does get away from the passive, so we'll do fine. We'll just push in this bottom wave. And he has so much defensive wards that he can just stay in wave clear because he knows no one's coming to try and kill him.
Yeah, outer turret goes down in the top side as well. So 3 for 1 there in turrets for Chiefs, 2-0 in Dragons, and of course up 3 kills there at 4-1. So next item coming through for Swiffer, Dragon up in a minute 20. The Chiefs have a very clear plan now on Swiffer. He's the anchor for it.
And Chiefs warding is much more on point. Aggressive wards litter the enemy base. They had 3 pinks on the map. Not quite 5, but working their way towards that. We see Radiant picking up a pink as well. So there's probably potential for 5 pink wards to come through. Vision is so critical when you have a split pusher. You set up your split pusher to succeed because he can know when he can go in for the 1-for-1 kill and when he's looking to retreat when the enemy team is coming to close him down.
Yeah, really. And I just love the small item choices for Chiefs as well. Last Whisper going to come through for Swiffer, wants efficient mid-game power as soon as possible. And even the BF sword here for Radiant for maximum turret pushing potential. Again, the Chiefs have a very clear game plan. They've gotten themselves to a spot where they can start executing it. It's just a matter of this point. Don't get outscaled again like happened in the last game. Close out while you have the edge.
I guess I'll be the dissenting voice and say I wish that Swiffer went for the more aggressive Yomu's Ghost Blade. Just the movement speed and the split pushing ability it gives you. Swiffer finds Maz again.
Yeah, no flash here for the Kog'Maw, so Deathmark going to move in an easy kill. He actually heals, but still dies.
It still dies through the heal. That's a lot of extra damage. This time, the Blade of the Ruined King is used. and they pick up the kill.
Yep, so Swiffer are gonna keep pushing out, Dragon up in 13 seconds or so. Swiffer might join his team, but can happily start split pushing again, and they can't keep sending Kog'Maw into this lane because Zed is always gonna follow him.
And if they are, they need to give him the defensive vision. They haven't done that. They still have double Sightstone. Double Sightstone and no defensive vision for the crown jewel of your Kog'Maw comp. You really need to do that, Avant, because if Kog'Maw doesn't reach any item timings, doesn't hit the Blade the Ruined King or even the Bloodthirster as the next pickup, doesn't matter how much peel you have for a champion if he doesn't do any damage. No,
and it's the little things again here. Swiffer, an upgraded sweeper already done to clear out any division that Avant might want to put down. Dragon goes to them as well for the third. Going to make all the rotations that much easier with the extra burst and movement speed. And Chiefs, they have a plan they're executing so well so far.
And they're going to continue at pastry time.
Junie going to get knocked back there as well. Swiffer going to dive in. Misui, though, he's the target. They really want him dead. A heal there from Nami, not enough to exhaust. Might be, though, as Spooks has nowhere good to run, but his passive might be able to save him. Swiper, though, coming down now as well. Spook's still alive somewhere, but he's in blobs right now there behind. Porky will get the kill, but the Chiefs are going to get another turret potentially.
They get it very, very low. The poke onto Porky's already massive from Radier. He's very overtuned in terms of items. And here's the engage.
Yes, well, Swiffer going to dive straight back into the mid there as well, popping the death mark, but Porky uses his Zonyas there. Swiper can't line it up, actually gets polymorph and then flash kick back. Radier going to rejoin now as well, but Swiper's so tanky, even as his flash if he needs to use it. Shelby, though, going to chase in. Radier, the next target, is the heal. Gets popped there to save the Scion. Jakey going to get knocked up there, but spell him into from a great black shield there.
I mean, Radier, Trinity Force, BF is doing so much more damage with the low mana, specifically on Jakey and Junie. They have to run away from this fight. They don't have the mana bars to be able to continue the engage. Successful engage, but no turret for Chiefs.
And thankfully, no kills forthcoming there either. Actually got the kill onto Spook, so good defense there from Avant. Gonna need to do that a couple more times here, but only 3,500 gold or so up for Chiefs. They are up in Dragons, of course, and they're gonna reinvade it. Shelby caught out in his own jungle. Radier's gonna look for another kill. Flashes for the last orders and gets it with the Gatling gun.
The flash for flash is the only advantage you save for Avant. Obviously, giving away a kill is never a thing you want to do. They do not have control over their red side jungle. We've known that for a good 10 minutes with how many assassinations that have come through onto Maz. And this is their short-term goal. If they want to buy time for Maz to farm, they need to overward this red side because it's being repeatedly gank is the 80 carry.
Yeah, and interestingly, Swift is actually in a different side of the map now. Wants to start split pushing and pressuring another tier 2. Maybe figures that the bottom tier 2 is basically dead to rights given how low it got in the earlier push, but he's swapping sides, not going to go for the Kog'Maw anymore. Oh, Porky. Ulted there on top as well. Black Shield not coming in. The Deathmark should be able to kill him. Binding will miss, and Swiffer another kill.
I believe the Zhonya's was either just off cooldown or wasn't available. You have to err on the side that it wasn't available. Perfect timing, but the reason why he swapped to the top is he want to open up Baron as an objective they can take down. If they can take this outer turret, they will have so much control over the Baron. Swiffer not really respecting Shelby because Chiefs are the first to react.
Yeah, Rosie's here already, of course, with the very swift Janna. Looks like Jakey actually going to get caught in there as well. The Wild Growth comes in, a great tidal wave going to keep them at bay, but Swiper going in with the ulti. Misses a little far, actually, now has to walk away. Chiefs might look for a re-engage, needs something, but Spooks there, charges up the slingshot. We'll back off towards the tier 2, though.
Maz definitely starting to do damage to Swiper. Of course, does have the Biocane Barrage, and there's a lot of health stacking coming through from Swiper. Does have magic resistant and won't be any magic pen itemized by Kog'Maw, but the damage is still very, very relevant. Chief's going to take this outer turret. No way that Avant can not seed it, and that's the 4th outer turret, and now they start to get a lot of vision control around Baron.
And you can see Swiffer even moving back towards the mid, basically wants to be wherever the other 4 members of his team are not here, collecting so much gold already at 5-1 and 1 for the Zed. We talk about it. It was the big deal here for Chiefs comp with the way their draft shook out, and Swiffer, another great Zed performance so far.
Well, they answered the question, who can split push against the Zed? Right now, page time, no one can. He's even gone for the late game insurance of an earlier Last Whisper over a Youmuu's. I think Youmuu's would have been the better pickup, gives you more turret pushing, and he's been assassinating low armor members, so of course he'd be doing close to true damage with the 20 armor penetration. But regardless, he can anchor himself in bottom and kill anyone. Shelby needs to be careful.
Gonna kick him back though, but now Rosie's here to defend off the Deathmark. Gonna come in. Shelby gonna eat a boatload of damage from the Shuriken and dies through a shield there, I think, as well.
That was just Jakey not using the Wago. Thought he'd live, didn't. And Swiffer, man, he's doing damage. He's backing right now with 1940 goals. Might be the Youmuu's anyway, or could just be the the upgrade into the Black Cleaver just for a bit more armor penetration for his team.
Wouldn't be too surprised. And there's the Yomis you asked for. Papa finished up very swiftly here at under 25 minutes. Bad news, unfortunately, there for Shelby. Sure, his mid laner didn't use Wild Growth, but Swift is now level 16, so Deathmark, maximum damage now.
Level 16 to level 13. That's the reality of this established top mid laner, you know, right up the top of those MVP rankings against a substitute mid laner on Lulu. It looked fine early, misjudged at level 6, and that snowball early has really opened up this game for Swiffer. He's overtaken the whole game on this Zed.
And that's exactly what it needed to do. Maz still struggling for farm. Going in towards his Blade of the Ruin King and does respectable damage with his W active here, but Chiefs, again, just never want to give them a fair fight, continuing to clean up vision, play safely back and forth, and just buy all the time in the world for Swiffer.
But, I mean, they're buying time that still is time for Maz to farm, and you have to remember there's certain item times that could be hit by Avant, where if they don't break the base, if they don't get a massive objective like the Baron or really put in a lot of pressure, if his outer turrets still stay up, there's still light at the end of the tunnel for Avant. This game is not over, despite being 9-2, despite being 3 dragons to 0. Gonna soon be the 4th dragon, maybe the 5th dragon is gonna be an issue, but despite all the advantages being the Chiefs' column, you cannot X the win just yet. There's still a lot of time left in the game.
No, and I actually like how Chiefs are playing their item builds as a result. You know, taking, like you kind of mentioned earlier with the last one, just a bit of insurance here. Infinity Edge, actually, is going to be the next item for Radiant. They'll never truly outscale the Juggernaut, but if they need a little bit of extra time, they're buying some of that with these item purchases.
And look, this is a squishy team. We already mentioned there's no clear tank. There's no Maokai. There's no Scion on the Avant side to deal with this Swiffer Swift push. It's the same against the Corki. The Trinity Force Infinity Edge crit. If that comes through on the first auto, we're talking about 800 damage to very squishy members on the Avant side. There's no reason not to go for that build. And of course, if things change, you can always buy a Bloodthirster and a Last Whisper.
Yeah, I mean, might even buy them anyway here. Radiant probably going to go for a heavy damage carry build just because his team needs damage. As Swiffer doing some stuff there in the top side. Although Shelby now going to get aggressive on Swiper, going to look to slow him down. Spook's going to dive in on top of Jacob. They want the Missouri there. Radiant going to dive in very aggressive with the Wild Growth. Already been popped. Rosie, though, going to clear out Monsoon to split everyone else up. Kog'Maw will fall there to Janna of all champions. Spook's not going to die there as well. Takes a bit of damage, though, from the Cathian surprise. Jakey now the next target as well. Flash Tornado shoots secure his fate. 3 kills for Chiefs. And Swiffer, sorry, still in the top lane.
And Juggernaut's definitely not as strongest in the jungle. You saw at the end of that fight, Radio was auto-attacking Maz in 550 range or less, and actually the first support to come there and help was actually Rosie on the Janna. Used the Monsoon to further split members away from the Kog'Maw, and there were no buffs, no consistent shields or heals coming through on the Kog'Maw. Swiffer split pushing in top. They've broken the base, and they've broken the base in 2 lanes.
Yeah, they've double broken the base here as now the bottom and hit will force Swiffer working on the top side there as well, but there's one going to go down. Swiffer actually going to get bubbled up there. Porky could be in trouble. The ulti's there for Swiffer. Going to deathmark him a walkout. Doesn't get the kill, I believe, as the deathmark pops in, and Nami collects a big bounty of gold.
Yeah, Nami, but that's not the ideal person to give gold. Already has a Mikhail's. Only so much support you can buy for the Kog'Maw from items. And I don't know if that, unfortunately, Chiefs, they've really hit their win conditions. 27 minutes, broken the base on both the top side and bottom side. 5th dragon going to come through soon. This is going to be the 4th. And it's going to, again, the next 6 minutes, Baron, 5th dragon, a lot of potential objectives now with the base broken.
Yeah, lots of things for Avant to worry about. And, you know, Juggernaut, a great comp, almost unstoppable. That's kind of the point again once you get to the late stages. But the Kog'Maw still needs items. Everyone else still needs to be able to protect him. And whether it's fighting some messy skirmishes in jungles where they don't want to, or just simply not having the gold yet, Avant do not have the tools to fight Chiefs right now.
And I feel like the warding has been the big problem. It's been the consistent story. Double Sightstone definitely doesn't feel like they've been getting value out of those items. Now, some of that will be the wards being swept by the Chiefs. Like, don't get me wrong, they have had double sweeper, now double upgraded sweeper, the Oracle sweeper coming through for both Zed and Janna. But at the end of the day, there should have been safe options for Master Farmer. It just hasn't been that consistently from the moment Play the Ruin King was completed on Swiffer.
Yeah, I mean, 29 minutes now, approaching 30 in this game, and Maz now finally has his Blade of the Ruin King done, so going to start to really ramp up at damage. This is the big jumping off point for Kog'Maw, but couldn't use that Trinity Force to transition. That's what Kog'Maw relies on to smoothly get from one item to the next and just go straight to the lake game where he's so strong. You talked about it already. Swift has applied so much pressure, and they want to end the game here. I mean, BF sword done up, big items through for everyone, even an elixir on the Z as well. Chiefs, they don't want this to go on much longer.
Righteous Glory on John as a potential initiation person as well. We'll learn a lot about Juggernaut comp here. 9,000 gold behind, but 40% CDR and Zonias on both of the supportive solo laners. Randuin's on the Lee Sin, so at least he's somewhat of a frontline, and a Mikhails. If they can win a team fight, 9,000 gold behind, I think that will tell us everything we need to know about the Juggernaut comp, or if this is the sort of gold lead you need to be able to unseat this team.
Spooks got actually just slingshotted his way around. I thought he got kicked by Chelby, but just kind of running interference right now. Warmog's done for him as well with the Cinderhawk plus the Spirit Visage. Again, big front line here from both Swiper and
But the moment
Spooks.
they react to this bottom lane push, massive super minion wave push, here comes the Baron, and honestly, there's nothing they can do to answer it. And Swiffer, he wants kills.
Yeah, he apparently wants to go in very deep there. Jakey going to be the assassination target. Zonias they use, but Swiffer just flashes in and shadows out. And again, all he's doing is buying time. Shelby actually going in to check for the Baron's going to get forced out of the pit, and the Chiefs. Baron actually not that low, not that much damage without the Zed, but Shelby could be the next target. Just going to miss it. So Swiffer gets caught in a binding. Porky going to line up the ulti. Swiffer actually has to get out there. The Zonia's now popped as well. Swiper trying to zone him out. Raid is so low. Jakey gets Swiffer. Now Lulu going to get low, but Swiper just not enough there as the Mikhails comes in, and Porky going to get the next kill. Avant, bit messy there from Chiefs, and they get 2 free kills.
And the minion wave in bottom is still pushing very hard, but they have minions to answer it. It'd be very risky to try and pick up Baron, but if they're only picking up kills, it's the absolute minimum, and Corky's going in aggressively.
Yeah, actually a kill there for Rady, so a nice pick off there as Lulu tries to exit the Baron safely. Rady will continue applying pressure. Bit of a misstep there from Chiefs. Again, these mid-game fights in this game and the last have been a bit awkward, but again, kind of don't lose too much here in Avant. We'll regroup to stop the push on their bottom lane.
A lot of hope to the opponents that will be facing the Chiefs in playoffs. They're definitely making some mistakes in team fights, especially overconfidence, not respecting the enemies. It's hard to say what it is. In this game, though, they have such a significant advantage, and the minion waves pushing against Avant, that the big thing they need to do is just get those 2 inhibitors down, send Swiffer up to the top. No one can deal with him. He's killing people after they use Zonias. He's so strong at this present point. Adding a beer, so it's going to be Infinity Edge for the one-shot Zed build that we almost never see in competitive. He's not going for any sort of implied tech. It's not even a Hex Drinker against double AP and the Cogmore magic damage. It's a risk, but if anything's going to ensure a mid-game win, it's getting instantly one-shot killed by a Zed.
Yeah, supplements the 5th Dragon plan nicely as well. We talk about it a lot, actually, when we have these mid-game centric comps that have like 2 threats in them, but the kind of reason you can even afford to play this in any situation is just the 5th Dragon, once you get it, amplifies your damage so much that you can kind of afford to be a little low on damage.
So let's discuss a single point. Swift is level 18. His opponent is 14. There's a 16 in Porky, but he's level 18, and he's got a BF Sword pickaxe. He's literally sitting on 427 AD. If you don't instantly Zonias, you're just going to die to the autos.
Yeah, I mean, 5th Dragon aside here, Swiffer already does just mountains of damage on the Zed, and they're splitting up again here. Dragon up for a minute 30, don't need to look in for it. Swiffer wants the inhibitor back down from the bottom side, and he's drawing plenty of attention. Avant have to respect this.
I mean, he's going to just do so much damage. Even with the attack speed nerfs Zed Sin, he's going to, you know, 8-shot, and bye, man.
Just jumps in onto Mazui, and that should be enough. Will actually die. A great binding from Porky will ensure it, but the Cogmore is down.
Yeah, the Cogmore is down, and they're going to have to also seed this inhibitor. Are they going to look for a fight?
I don't know if Avant can fight without that Cogmore, but they're going to make a show of it there as we move in back towards the team fight. Raid does get exhausted. Spookster taking up a lot of damage. Shelby actually in the back line, they gets exhausted. Will go down there to Raider as Corky will have enough damage to finish him off. Porky's has to kind of split the Junie, gets Monsoon back there as well. Spooks even going to dive back in a bit lazily there on the Zac, and Jakey will get the shot, and actually Rady being dead means the Chiefs probably have to back away. And again, a little sloppy. Swiper might even die here as he's going to force some people back and buy a bit more time. Ridiculous amount of shields there will mean that Sion goes down. A trade there up for AV. Actually, they get 2 kills for 1. But the Chiefs still so far ahead.
And that's the thing. They can get nothing with these kills. They can buy a bit of gold, a bit of items. They can kill the super minion waves they're pushing into their base. But with their base broken in both top and bottom lane, there's so many obvious split push options. This fight, Zed gets stopped in his tracks by a binding. That might not happen next fight. And Avant, they need that fight to happen 2, 3 times. They need to push out their waves and find an answer to Swiffer. Because you know that even if his team start losing, he's going to be going on a special ninja mission and backdooring this base.
He will here, and the 5th Dragon is up now. Avant are actually into defend, but Spooks and Swiffer already in the area. Rosie will dive in very quickly towards it as well. Maz is here, though. You have to think that's Swiffer's target, but they've started up the Dragon.
He's positioned quite aggressively. I'd like him to position towards the back of this pit just so he can flash over. He has flash available. There's the attack boost. That's 6% stats. But will Chiefs let them back away?
I mean, Spooks is going to try and catch someone. A support, actually, is who they've found, but they don't want to pop their ultis on it. Juni, oh my god! That was a disgusting amount of damage.
This might not be over. We see Sion. He wants to get out of the jungle, but then he can start his engage.
Yeah, Swiper going to run in now, going to pop his ulti in towards Jakey. Porky getting flanked there by Zach and the Zed as well. They've caught someone off there. Swiper does get the first kill, but they're going to dive in. They want Porky. Maz gets dove on instantly there by Swiffer. Shadow pops out with the Shadow. Deathmark will get the kill, and Chiefs are going to break their base. Raider even charging in the plane.
And the base is well and truly broken. They're going to win this game, Page Time. They pick up another kill. They have a minion wave to support them, and Chiefs, they're taking down one today, but it isn't going to be for a second time.
Swiper actually plenty of tankiness as well. Even Rosie pretty tanky now as well. Death time is pretty short, but Chiefs have more than enough damage and time here to finish off the game. Rosie even resets with an ulti, and Swiffer might just want one more kill. But no, the next explodes, and Chiefs, they'll take a game here. They'll actually split for the first time ever in the OPL. But they'll be very happy they didn't get 0-2.
But they played that game very well, barring one fight in the mid-game. Zed, in particular, completely took over the game. An MVP performance from Swiffer. That's how you play Zed. Everyone that map had to respect the Zed. He was killing people through Zonias. And at the end of the game, Comor couldn't even stand in the same lane as the Swiffer. Because he's just too strong on the Zed.
Yeah, and we saw maybe that is how you answer the Dragon Ball. But with that, let's recap the day's results because they've been fairly insane today. We started off, of course, Fauna winning another game here. They're in their first one against Immunity, and a good win there for Immunity versus Avant.
And there's no mistakes whatsoever. You might be surprised to see Fortnite beating Immunity, but a massive victory taking it away from the Chiefs, unseating the 10-0 top team, 10-1 now, as we finish it off with the Chiefs picking up a win over Avant.
Yeah, Chiefs, a nice looking win, but we a little bit bitter to not have the undefeated record, still finally dropping a loss. But of course, there's another day of play coming up as well. So let's check the schedule coming up for the next OPL to see which games we'll be having. Rich Gang versus Sudden Fuel will start with the first one, and then the Direwolves come back in to really secure their second spot, also playing Rich Gang.
And Sudden Fear finding Fortnite at the same amount of wins now after all these changes. We'll take on Legacy, and we'll finish off the day with Direwolves versus Legacy, second versus third.
Yeah, and massive matches, of course. We're almost at the end of the season, but there's a place you can go if you want to check everything out as well.
Absolutely. OC.LOLesports.com. Understandably, you might be taken aback by all the shocking results today. You can find the standings, the schedule for the last 3 match days, and all the other information you need at that website.
But with that, we are done. We've got a massive day of OPL coming up as well. We already had a massive one here. Season almost over, but plenty of great games to play. So for myself, Papa Smithley, Atlas, and our entire live production crew, we'll see you for our next OPL.